Alright, welcome back to Impact TEW 2022 August week 4, last week of August. Couple weeks removed from our last pay-per-view and onwards towards Victory Road and then Bound for Glory. Took a maybe little bit of a unplanned break. Just kind of work stuff getting in the way right now. Um, actually, um. I took today off to take my cats to the vet. They need their teeth cleaned, and while they're there, I'm recording now, so hopefully should not be have to do much editing around them as I normally do. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I booked this stuff like over a week ago, so my memory might be a little hazy. I do remember that the show actually might be shorter. Because it is more match. I kind of had to there's more matches than angles, so probably not a ton to talk about. We'll see how the show goes, but there is something I want to talk about, probably something not to talk about a little bit before I get into the show proper. We are probably a couple days removed from the news regarding Davey Richards. I'm not going to get into them. You can look them up for yourself if you haven't heard already. But this will probably be regarding if we uh, book him, if we continue using him. Because the thing is, like, the basis for this Impact diary, if you will, is like, what if Impact was good and didn't have all these crappy people that people don't want to see? Like, we got rid of Moose, we got rid of Sammy Callahan. Um, and Davey Richards kind of fell back into bad habits again. So, um, well, the thing is with Davey is like we're actively using him, and he's a tag team champion, and he's probably one of our top 5 stars. When it shows our figurehead candidates, it's basically Eddie, Davey, Alex Shelley, and Josh Alexander. And Josh, like we just got to that point. Um, Regarding if I actually did pick a figurehead, none of those are technically still over enough, but they are over or properly over, but they're not over enough to for it to be a benefit. So I still haven't chosen one yet, but regardless, that just shows how high up Davey is, and considering this show, this Impact is like trying to weed out the bad apples, if you will. The decision I've made is that for the immediate future, we are still going to be using him for at least a few more shows. Um, I do have I don't want to give too much away, but I do have a definite end planned for the Wolves title reign. So once we get to that point, then we will probably cut Davey loose. It's kind of hard because, like, I didn't have problems cutting Moose or Sammy Callahan or Kimberly, which we uh let go of a while back for a lot of the same reasons. But the simple fact is, I also didn't really have plans on using them either. It's kind of hard for us to get rid of a major star right off the bat, but it'll take some time. If this affects you tuning into this, I get it. Um, it's a delicate situation. And another one, which I guess I should talk about, but kind of want to get in front of, even though no one's really been asking about it. Um, Rich Swan is also on our roster, and I debated keeping him for many of the same reasons. Um, he is also, well, he's not quite as over as Davey is, but also the fact that His wife is on the roster. I did want to at least give her a chance to come back. Um, they are in a program together. But it sounds like, hopefully the issues that they've had between them are behind them, but who knows? We thought the same for Davey too, but stuff like that happens. But the original plan actually was to let go of Rich Swann for the Feast or Fired briefcase. He was going to get the fired briefcase, but I kind of changed that um just to give CPA something to do and maybe give Rich Swann and Su Young a chance to do something on the roster. Um, but yeah, regarding Davey, he will be at least on these next few shows. Like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but like I said, I do have an end planned for the Wolves title reign, and then when that happens, we'll see. We'll go from there. But in the immediate future, Davey will still be used. And like I said, if that affects you watching the show, I get it. So just to let you know, just to get ahead of all that stuff, we will go to the news. All right. So for the numbers, BTI .01 TV rating as always. Overall rating was a 29, down from the previous weeks of 33. Um, I think I left, if I remember correctly, I left last week's Impact kind of disappointed, but it was actually up from previous weeks. Not a ton, but enough. 0.31 up from 0.30 for the TV rating, and a 44 rating up from a 42. Attendance was 318, down from 337. So we're kind of in that holding pattern where our changes aren't really all that major. Whether we go up or down, we are kind of in a safe spot, if you will. So I guess you can call that safe. Impact news: Jarrett has officially retired from in-ring competition after Impact last week. He's still available as a manager, personality, or road agent. Will likely you use him as a road agent going forward. I have already used him as a road agent for certain segments, certain like main event matches. Um, so that was kind of like his farewell. I don't know if I'm gonna bring him back as an on-screen personality. I'm toying with the idea, but as far as him wrestling, that was his last match. And kind of wanted to give him a good send-off. But he is still employed by us, still a road agent. Whether he comes back on screen as something else is something we'll get to later. We did tweak Rachel Ellering's gimmick. It was getting stale. Um, it was a cocky gimmick, which I didn't really see her as, and she's doing adequate at it. So hopefully it will be less stale. We did release El Phantasmo from his contract. He was on a handshake, so it was nothing to release him. As far as I know, even though we didn't really plan on using him, he was pretty much his New Japan bookings pretty much coincided with every Impact show we did anyway. So even if we wanted to use him, it was pretty much impossible. So we just let him go. No real reason to have him on the roster if we can't even really use him. Josh Alexander was loaned to NSPW by AAW via the Independent Wrestling TV Alliance. I don't see this affecting our booking of him, considering he's our world champion, and it seems like how shows work. I guess we're considered like his primary um employer, even though we don't have him locked to an exclusive contract. So it seems like if we don't use him and there's a show that he can be on that night, that show will use him. But if we book him, I never really ran into a situation where I couldn't book Josh. So I thought this was worth mentioning just in case, but I don't see it being a problem. We extended the handshake contract of referee Brandon Toll, and we offered an extension to Carl Anderson. He hasn't accepted it yet, but I don't see a problem with it. Um, Something I put in here: Eric Young and Damian O'Connor lost to the authors of Pain in the main event of an independent show in Seattle. So, like I said, show times that we aren't running, usually our talent does get the opportunity to work elsewhere. And then Matt Stryker has relocated to Occidente, Mexico. Stryker is also employed by AAA. I think there is a case, it might be Bound for Glory actually, where AAA is running ahead of us or head to head with us. So there's a number of talent that we might not be able to use. So I'm kind of planning accordingly. But yeah, Striker, I don't really see this being a problem considering he's a really minor character. And if we don't have to use him, we probably won't. Um, like I mentioned with the whole Davy thing, well, I didn't really mention it, but I kind of see us going through a roster go over at least around Bound for Glory. I have plans on bringing new people in, and that'll be a good time to weigh options if we want to keep people on the roster or not. And Matt Stryker might be on the chopping block. I don't really use him that much now that he's off of commentary duties. So we might just leave him go to AAA. But yeah, just a bit of a I don't want to say foreshadowing because I don't really have anything planned, but Stryker, might not be long for us. American news for WWE. Mansoor, Tony D'Angelo, Trick Williams, Wendy Chu, and Simone Johnson have all extended their contracts. I think everyone but Mansoor are on NXT contracts. Mansoor might even still be on NXT contract. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if he's on the main roster. Matt Riddle signed a one night only deal with NXT to defend the 24/7 title against Andre Chase. Just mentioned this just because Samoa Joe was kind of on the same deal, being 24/7 champ. He would just sign one night only deals to brands that he wasn't on. I know whenever Samoa Joe had to show up on Raw or SmackDown, he had to sign a one night only deal. So this is kind of the same thing. I'm not going to mention it every time it happens, I don't think, but uh, just putting that out there. AEW has fallen to small size. Um, they are still ranked second overall, and they look to be financially stable in the sense that they're like making money, just not tons of it. I know I've mentioned before, like a lot of their shows, some of their shows have really small attendance uh things for some reason, but I don't know how this is going to work because I think they are located in our region, our southeast region, but they're not in a battle with us. I think they might be too big, but if they fall into small size, that might change. I don't know. So we'll see how that works. Uh, if they don't, they haven't like signed tons of talent like they have in real life. They're actually letting go of people, some people, kind of like how WWE is kind of, just kind of letting contracts run out every once in a while. But we'll see about that. MJF invented a new catchphrase, so he is over, I guess. And the TBS champion Thunder Rosa extends her handshake deal. So AEW not getting rid of a bunch of talent, but some people are happy to stay, some are willing to leave. NWA, Colby Carino, and Matt Cross have extended their handshake deals. AIW has hired Penelope Ford and Kayla Rossi, both of AEW, to handshake deals. So they're boosting their women's division. And Shine Nixon Newell defeated Marty Bell to win the Shine Nova Championship, her first reign with that belt. All right, for international news, a lot of, I think I have 2 pages of international news, but a lot of this is Japan news. New Japan, Chase Owens and Tangaloa have extended their exclusive deals. They have loaned out Kazuchika Okada to CMLL for a future date via the Bushy Road Alliance. And also NJPW Strong have loaned out PJ Black also to CMLL. So we are seeing crossover between New Japan and CMLL. Noah, Masakita Miya, and Daiki Inaba won the GHC Tag Team titles by defeating Kendo Kishin and Dan Tamura. The titles were vacated due to the retirement of Mohamed Yare, their first reign with the titles. I keep uh, seeing Kendo Kishin's name pop up in these matches for where they are um, crowning vacant championships, even though Kendo Kishin is set to retire himself. Luckily, he's been on the losing side, so this doesn't keep happening. But it seems to be an issue, at least in Japan, particularly Noah. I think partially DDT, where people retire as champion and they need to fill those spots. But at least in Noah's cases, they keep teasing Kendo Kishin in these matches, even though he's getting set to retire soon. So I just thought that was kind of funny. DDT, El Lindemann has left. Likely for him, he is still employed uh, lots of places. All Japan, Big Japan, and Zero One, and he is the current Big Japan Junior Heavyweight Champion. But for All Japan, Zeus has left. He was formerly on an exclusive handshake deal. That ran out. I guess they decided not to renew. And he is not employed elsewhere. So I guess kind of big news in the Japan world. Um, Zeus being unemployed for the most part, for basically for all intents and purposes. Stardom, the Donna Del Mondo unit of Julia Himeka and Natsupoi defeated the Queen's Quest of Utami Hayashishida. I hope I pronounced that correctly. That just kind of blurred together. Azumi and Saya Kamatani to win the Artist of Stardom titles their first reign, and then Utami Hayashishita, let's see if that's any better, defeated Sayori to win the World of Stardom title, her second reign with that belt. So I think they, if I remember correctly, the 6 woman belts change happened on one show, and then the World of Stardom title change happened on a show a few days later. So Utami losing a belt and then winning a belt, so good for her. Ice Ribbon, Akira Taue was hired to a handshake deal as a road agent. I just thought that was kind of funny because I think it was Stardom or no, I think it was Tokyo Joshi Pro hiring Akira Maeda as a road agent. So now Ice Ribbon has Akira Taue. Mio Shirai has left. She's still employed by Stardom. I think she might be either a road agent or a ref. I know she's not a full time wrestler. But yeah. CMLL Ultimo Guerrero defeating Titan to win the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship, vacated due to Atlantis retirement. Third reign with that title. And then I believe on the same show, Bandito and the Dynamites of Stigma and the Panther defeated Disturbia, Mysterioso Jr., and Nitro to win the vacant World Trios titles. Those titles not vacated due to any retirements. They have just been vacant since October of last year. So filling, guess reactivating a dormant title, if you will, um, which is surprising. I didn't think CML had any other world or trios titles or trios championships, so weird that they've just kind of let them go for almost a year before refilling them. Retirements and also Hall of the Immortals. Lots of names here. Announced retirements: Masato Tanaka, Bill Irwin, El Tirantes, Sin Bodhi, Takako Inoue, and Tiger Jeet Singh. Official retirements: Ricky Choshu, Tom Pritchard, Great Sasuke, Ricky Morton, Jeff Jarrett, who I already mentioned, Ken Shamrock, Dump Matsumoto, Tony Atlas, Sean Waltman, Akibono, Beth Phoenix, Alexander Otska, Shane Taylor, Mickey Knuckles, Shane Ballard, Tom Brandy, Jazz, Dark Sheik, Simply Luscious, Terry Funk, Headhunter B, Jennifer Blake, Carly Perez, Teal Piper, Ultimo Dragon, Parada Morgan, Bill Eady, Lady Apache, Mascara Sagrada, Ed Leslie, Shannon Ballard, Thunder Kitty, Shanna, Great Power Udi, Tombstone Jesus, Mr. Ulala, Ricky Ortiz, Dick Togo, who opened a school, Viano 4, opened a school, Mil Mascaras, Joey Legend, Chantel Taylor, aka Taylor Wild. She's still available as a manager. I was kind of hoping if she was going to retire, she would work as a road agent, and then we could bring her in. But that does not seem to be in the card. She is only available as a manager. Maybe we could still bring her in. I didn't look at her stats to see if she would be any good as a manager, but kind of bummed. I kind of was kind of hoping I could bring her in as a road agent, but that's not available. And then Jamie D, the former Sorelda, has also retired. So some TNA alumni um, retiring. Hall of the Immortals, Atlantis, Tommy Dreamer, Jun Akiyama, Minoru Suzuki, and Aja Kong. And then we go to Before the Impact of this week. Falaba defeating Crazy Steve. I don't remember if I had anybody interfere on Fala's behalf, but basically kind of an extended squash. Ba defeating Crazy Steve, but he also has backup. Like I said, don't remember if they did interfere, but they probably didn't need to. Swingers Palace. So we go to Swingers at Johnny Swinger at the casino. Zicky Dice comes in and he says, I've done it. I got the new member, got Hernandez replacement, and trust me, I think you're gonna like him. Motions to the doors open up, slow motion. This guy walks in with a big red furry coat, uh, curly mustache, big red mohawk, flamboyant, if you will. Then once the slow motion intro cuts out, he introduces himself to Johnny Swinger as the Sauce, Alex Zane. So Alex Zane, the new member of Swinger's Palace, and Swinger looks him up and down. He's like, Zicky did good. I like this kid, but Zicky's like, well, wait, you still got to see him in the ring. I talked to I talked to matchmakers, and they got him a match. So next week, before the Impact, you're gonna see the Sauce in action, and you're gonna see how good this guy really is. So Alex Zane joining the Swingers Palace. We'll get to that a bit later. Then we had Rachel Ellering and Roxy defeating Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich by DQ when I believe it was Savannah Evans and Janai Kai interfered in the match. Ref threw it out, gave the match to Rachel and Roxy. And then post match, we get a promo from Diener who talks about how he wanted to unlock Masha Slamovich's violent potential, if you will, and feels like he done that. But what happened is that she left him for Killer Kelly, basically, and doesn't know what to do now and blames the whole thing on Zhao Zia for whatever reason and goes as far as to challenge Zia to a match next week on Before the Impact for the digital media title. So Diener trying to exercise his frustrations, if you will. Yeah, so we got Zhao Zia defending against Diener next week on Before the Impact. And then before we go to Impact proper, we get Joe Hendry on the phone with Nick Stapp, and uh, Hendry's asking Nick how he likes working at Create a Pro. Um, Stapp is basically like, well, they got me uh, cleaning out toilets and whatever. And so they basically have him doing a bunch of Charlie work, if you will, for those of you watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But Hendry's like, well, trust me, you're gonna want to tune into Impact. I know Brian Myers has hooked you up with a job, but trust me, you're gonna want to watch. I know he seems like a nice guy. I know he's your trainer and all that, and you think he's uh helping you out in a dark time, but lad, just trust me, you're gonna want to tune into Impact. You're gonna want to see what I gotta show you. So, uh, overall rating of 32. Alex Zane debuted at Swingers Palace, new member, with a party animal gimmick, a swagger gimmick. Initial reaction of great. Like I mentioned, we will see his in-ring debut next week. And then I put Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich have absolutely zero chemistry as partners. So the plan was kind of how it played out, where Diener turns Masha heel, and then Masha kind of sees how Diener isn't all that great and goes off with Killer Kelly. I wanted to have them be like an actual tag team, but after this match and finding out they have zero chemistry as partners, we're gonna have to change course somehow. So that kind of sucks. Um, Especially since that heel turn didn't go well for Masha and she's kind of mad as well. So got to figure out something for them to do. Um, if they're not going to be good tag team partners. So yeah, before the Impact, in the books, we get Alex Zane's debut next week. We get Shazia defending the title against Diener. So we'll see what happens. And then we'll go to Impact. So we're starting off tonight's Impact with Jonathan Gresham versus Rich Swann. Both of them kind of having issues. Their wives having issues, so they've kind of been kind of entangled in that uh issue by default. I believe this is a rematch from a few weeks ago, and if I remember correctly, Swan cheated to win that one. I probably with Su Young's involvement. This time it's Gresham getting the win with Rich Swan or submitting Rich Swan. Um, Swan looking around for help, likely for help, and never getting it. We reveal on commentary that Su Young is going to be involved in a match later on, so maybe that has something to do with it, or considering her mysterious and erratic nature, if you will, she just decided not to show up. So Swan, having to eventually tap out to submission. Segment rating of 48. Good performance by both men. Storyline gaining heat. So we're starting off the show off on a good note. And then we go backstage. We have a promo with Homicide and Hernandez. Uh, they're talking about emergence, where Homicide basically beat on Colby Carino. Last week, Colby Carino cutting a promo in a neck brace, claiming that Homicide took liberties and took things too far. Um, Hernandez is tending to agree. He's like, Homicide, it's been a while since I've seen you go off like that, and I can't believe you. He's kind of like, I can't believe you went off on, he's just a kid, and Homicide's like, just a kid? Colby's not just a kid. Like, I've dealt with his father. Colby's doing the same bullshit that his father did years ago to me. He's not just a kid. I gave him the ass whooping that he deserves. But, if he wants to come back and talk trash at me, um, I'm willing to work within the system if it means getting my hands on him again. So, we went to Gail Kim. We talked to Gail Kim. She's willing to put us in a tag match. I'm willing to play nice, if you will, work within the system and, control my temper, if it means getting a match with Colby Carino again. So, Colby, you go get yourself a tag team partner, but I don't see many people in the back being your friend. So, I can't imagine you getting a partner if at all. A good partner, so whatever. So we have a match book for next week. LAX versus Colby Carino and a partner of his choosing. Who will that be? We'll find out next week. Segment rating of 28. And then we get Joe Hendry coming out, and he's like, he's basically talking to the camera. He's like, I know Nick Stapp, you're out there. I hope you're watching. I got some important stuff to show you. I couldn't just send it to you over, the phone or whatever, but, I hope you're watching because you got to see this. And he points to the Tron, the video screen, and we get like the end segment of last week's segment where Hendry was talking to Brian Myers, and Myers goes off, and Hendry takes the camera, and that's how the segment ended last week. But we see Hendry like putting the camera down and telling the cameraman to go away, and then turning around to Brian Myers like, "Hey Brian, come back here for a sec. I got something else to ask you." And Hendry or Myers comes back, and Hendry's just kind of like trying to chum up to him. He's like, "Oh, come on, just you can talk to me, just between you and me. Like, do you really give a crap about Nick Stapp?" I guess that rhymes. They could probably use that as a uh, catchphrase if you will. Do you really give a crap about Nick Stapp? Myers is like, that kid. I tried training him the best I could, but he just doesn't have it. He's just kind of a waste, and he should be lucky that he's cleaning toilets at the Creative Pro because that's all he's ever going to be in this business is just a, a job boy at best. Otherwise, he's just going to be cleaning toilets, carrying bags, all that stuff for me. And Myers, a contrast from last week where Myers was talking about how he's basically giving um an unlucky unemployed Nick Stapp a job, but Myers kind of talking him down. This eventually brings out Brian Myers, who, along with his students Avery Good and VSK, all jump and beat down Joe Hendry. No one really there to save him, so it's an easy 3-on-1. Myers exposed for, I guess being a crappy dude. Myers just using Nick Stapp as manual labor at the school. Uh, we could all kind of guess, but this just confirms it. But Joe Hendry exposing Brian Myers, and Myers getting angry, and him and his students attacking him. So segment ring of 25, losing heat with the storyline, but we'll see how this works out. It's a slow burn, and then we get the match to determine who will face Rosemary at Victory Road for the Knockouts title. Tennille was inserted into the match last week, and we have now revealed that she is facing Tasha Steeles and Quinn McKay in a three-way. Tasha on somewhat of a roll now that Mercedes Martinez is in charge of her crew. Quinn not necessarily so much on a roll, but still um, the plucky underdog. Hope maybe getting a win out, but not tonight because Tennille does end up getting the win when Deanna Prazzo and Chelsea Green come out. Basically, um, Chelsea occupying Tasha Steeles while Deanna Prazzo comes in, hits Quinn McKay with the title belt. Tennille gets a roll up. Tennille wins. She goes on to get the title shot at Victory Road against Rosemary. Segment rating of 35. Um, and then afterwards, they all celebrate. The BFFs, the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, making good on their promise. They got Tennille in a number one contenders match. They were able to help Tennille to win. Tennille getting a title shot. This alliance seems to be working out finally for once for Tennille after months of following the inspiration and supposedly going nowhere. Her new alliance with the BFFs is already paying off, already getting a title match. They just have to do one more step to get Tennille to become Knockouts champion. Segment rating of 36. We go backstage. We see Jake Something prepping for his possible title shot, much like the Knockouts match last week. A match was made between Jake Something and Lance Archer, which is our main event tonight. The winner of that match will be facing Josh Alexander at Victory Road for the Impact World title. Jake getting a pep talk from Heath and Rhino. Basically, they've been saying the same thing. They've been, saying the past couple weeks, like, we got your back. This is a big opportunity for you, and if you need our help, just say the word. We'll come out. And Jake is also like, I appreciate it, guys, but if I'm gonna take that next step, get that title shot, I want to do it on my own. And Heath and Rhino are understanding, like, we get it. Good luck out there, and basically patting on the back, giving him a pep talk for the main event tonight. Segment rating of 39. And then we go backstage where basically we're in mid attack with Chris Bay and Will Hobbs, Power and Finesse, the new unit, beating down the X Division champ Swerve Strickland. Uh, the title match, the X Division title match, not quite made official yet, but it might as well be. Swerve defending the X Division title against Will Hobbs, or Hobbs being at least the next in line for a title shot, and then with Bay as his so-called advisor, so-called partner. We'll see how that partnership shakes out, but for right now, it's a two-on-one attack backstage, so it seems to be working out for them. Segment rating of 32. We lost some heat with this, but that's okay. Mike Bailey versus Laredo Kid. This wasn't planned to be a match. Um, we just kind of needed something to fill out time. So Mike Bailey defeating Laredo Kid in I believe a high spots match. Um, yeah. Surprisingly, they did not click. I don't know if I'm trying to think if I booked them before. So if I had booked them before, this probably should have said, hey, they don't have much chemistry. So, but despite that, still a pretty good match, 41. But yeah, Speedball, Mike Bailey defeating Laredo Kid, and then afterwards we get basically Speedball celebrating his win. Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, who have been thorns in Bailey's side and vice versa. Austin and Fulton coming out for a two-on-one attack, which of course brings out Josh Alexander, the world champion, for the save. Sick come out and save his buddy. Two on, even the odds. Austin, Fulton take a powder. Austin still with that world title shot briefcase in hand, threatening to use it whenever he can. Bailey has been a blocker in that sense where he's basically tried to cut off Austin at any opportunity of him cashing in that title shot on his friend Josh. So this has been going back and forth for a little while. We'll see how that shakes out eventually. Segment rating 40, not too bad for just a simple uh, attack segment. Then we go to backstage. Gail Kim is like mid argument, if you will, with Matt Stryker and Robert Evans, representing Maria KaneLLC. Stryker and Evans talking about how D-Lo Brown returned last week, and Stryker and Evans thought, they got rid of D'Lo Brown weeks ago when the crew of Macklin and Ray Walt and Taurus attacked D'Lo Brown. They thought they got rid of him once and for all. And he came back. Can't believe he's back. And Gail Kim's like, well, I'm sorry to heap more bad news upon you, but not only is he back, but we've decided to give D'Lo Brown a position of authority. He's going to be running the show along with me. So, if you want to remain having jobs here, you best be, you should stay in line, play by the rules, or else, we will have the authority to fire you. Stryker gets mad and he's like, "You'll hear from my lawyer." And Robert Evans is like, "Yeah, wait, I'm your lawyer. Oh, crap." And then, so basically, Gil Kim and D'Lo Brown co-running Impact. Um, so yeah, segment rating of 35 for that. We get the further issues of Maria KaneLLC. Dalton Castle has been a thorn in the side of the B team, if you will, of Steve Macklin and his buddies. So Maria forcing W. Morrissey to face Dalton Castle. Um, Morrissey unfortunately not getting the job done. Um, it's also can be warranted, can be thought that Morrissey did not completely have his heart in the match because, he's basically forced to do Maria Kanellis' bidding, um, and not wanting to. So Dalton Castle getting the win. Steve Macklin tries to interfere, botches, hits Morrissey instead of Castle. Castle, you know, impressive strength getting Morrissey up for a bangerang and winning the match. So Dalton Castle getting a win, further sticking it to Steve Macklin. Morrissey being a further failure, if you will, for Maria KaneLLC. Segment rating of 39. Afterwards, we're not turning Morrissey yet. Pretty sure which turn to yes. So afterwards, we go back to the Maria KaneLLC locker room. She's exasperated. She's like, why did you know, I thought Morrissey would come through. He's the big guy. He's forced to, we have his contract. We have control of him. And Bennett's like, this is what I've been trying to tell you, babe. Like, Morrissey's a joke. I'm the real star of this show. You know, strap the rocket to me, I can get this done. And to prove I can get this done, you book me against Dalton Castle next week. I'll take care of Dalton Castle. Macklin couldn't, Morrissey couldn't. I'll take care of him. No problem. I've done it before. I've wrestled him plenty of times. I can do it. Just, put your faith in me like you always have. We'll get this done. And Maria makes it so. So we have Michael Bennett and Dalton Castle next week. Segment rating of 42. We get a tag match of the Knockouts champion Rosemary and Jordan Grace teaming against Viper and Su Yung, where kind of stemming from last week where we had Viper Viper and Grace going to a double DQ. Su Yung interfering, and then Rosemary coming out for the save. So alliance is somewhat formed here. Rosemary and Jordan Grace getting the win when Su Yung, due to weird otherworldly shenanigans, basically intentionally gets counted out. She takes a powder mid match. The lights go out. They come back on. She's gone. Viper um, trying to figure out where her partner went. So the match is essentially thrown out. She's essentially counted out. Rosemary and Grace getting the win. Kind of an underwhelming match, but doing well enough for a rating 39. Um, Rosemary and Grace reluctantly celebrating. They probably kind of wanted more of a fight. After the match, Viper takes the mic and she's like, "I know I lost to you uh, at Emergence, but I want I want to fight. I want a real fight, and I want a real shot at that championship. I didn't get the fight I wanted last night or tonight, so I'm issuing a challenge to you one more time, one more title match, one more shot next week on Impact. You and me, falls count anywhere." Rosemary just kind of looks around. She accepts. She essentially accepts. So Rosemary and Viper next week for the Knockouts title one more time in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Segment rating of 40 for that. We get an angle where the Wolves, the world, why am I stuck on that? The tag team champions of Impact, they come out, they cut a promo, they talk about how this new version of the Gospel of Violence came out, showed themselves at Emergence, and attacked them post match. Eddie talking about how he's faced them before in a different form. They may have got PCO on their side, but that's no different. You can take care of them too. Like the Wolves will fight as much as they always have. This brings out the Gospel of Violence. Brody King, PCO, led by Father Bateman. They attack um, the Wolves. Eventually, get the upper hand. Once again, it looks like the guns come out, run out for the save. But much like last week, they get as far as the ring. They get as far as like getting to the ropes on the apron, and then they just hop back down and let the Gospel of Violence continue their beatdown. So them not going for the save for saving the fan favorites 2 weeks in a row. Last week they did it to Rep 419 when Gospel of Violence beat them down. Now they're doing it again to the Guns. Odd behavior on the side of the Guns, but we'll see what comes of that. Gospel of Violence beating down the Wolves once again. Segment rating of 43. We get a promo from Joe Doring, a pre-tape one like promo for him. Like he's obviously cutting somewhere like not at the arena, and he just talks about how Lance Archer called him out for weeks, called him to come out to come back to Impact, so he did, and he lost. Simple as that. Not only that, week or two later, he faced Damian O'Connor, lost to him too. Came back to Impact, lost two matches in a row. This isn't like him. Because when Doring is in Japan, he's like he's bigger than life. He's huge in Japan. He's when he goes to All Japan. He won the Carnival Champion tournament, whatever it was called. Uh, Huge lineage. He put himself in the record book. Huge lineage of winners of that tournament, and he's in the record books among them. When he goes to Japan, they treat him like the second coming of Stan Hansen, but when he comes to Impact, he's just another guy. And obviously something's wrong with him in Impact's then. So he thinks it's probably best for him to just go back to Japan again. I'm just gonna go to Japan. Impact's not for me. I'm just gonna go. So kind of a self-pitying promo from Joe Doring. Segment rating of 30. I'm doing this because he is unavailable for Victory Road, so we can't use him for Victory Road anyway. So we're just gonna do another stretch of him just not booking him. So I think he's mostly available for the lead up to Victory Road, minus maybe the go home show, but he won't be available for Victory Road. So I'm just kind of writing him off now ahead of time. So Doring gonna be a non-factor for at least the next few weeks, at least till the next pay-per-view. So Doring just going off to Japan where he's like he said, the second coming of Stan Hansen, but here he's just Joe Doring and he doesn't want that. So he's going to Japan. Segment rating of 30. Then the main event for the title shot at Victory Road. Lance Archer defeating Jake Something um, with a distraction from Eric Young. Eric Young distracting, allowing Damian O'Connor to run in, hit Jake Something, and allowing Lance Archer to get the win. Segment EBD claw, whatever. Um, I figure like if Doring would or not Doring, Damian O'Connor would hit something with something, and then Archer would hit him with something, knocking him out. Segment rating of 48. Lance Archer goes on to victory road for the world title shot. So, Lance Archer kind of proving his destiny, that he, or at least his self-proclaimed destiny, where he uh, wants to be world champion. He's gotten Joe Doring out of the way. Joe Doring going off to Japan. Archer leaving Archer open for a world title shot. His only hurdle seemed to be Jake something, and he got rid of that handily. Of course, took a little bit of help, but he got past it. So Archer winning the match, segment rating of 48, and then the show ends with as Archer celebrates Eric Young and Damien O'Connor double teaming Jake something, which brings out Heath and Rhino to get the odd to make the save. The damage has been done. Something lost his title shot. So Young and O'Connor powder out. They don't even really. Heath and Rhino don't even really get many shots in on Young or Connor because they did what they came to do, cost something the match. So we basically end the show with Heath and Rhino helping up something while Young and O'Connor gloat and Lance Archer celebrates his victory. Segment rating of 37, so we end with a 45. Show increasing our popularity in 23 regions. So, a good show. I'm trying to remember what the rating was last week. 43 maybe, but we got 48 for Gresham and Swan, 41 for Bailey and Laredo Kid, 48 for Archer and something, so a tie. Yeah, match of the show is a tie between Gresham and Swan, and yeah, Archer and something. So solid show. Book ended by two good matches. We are onward towards Victory Road. Tenille earns her title shot at the Knockouts title, but next week we have um, Rosemary versus Viper Falls Count Anywhere. So who Tenille faces, that could change next week. We will find out. Next week we'll get Dalton Castle versus Michael Bennett. Um, we'll see what happens between the Wolves and the Gospel of Violence. We see what happens between Swerve and Will Hobbs and Chris Bay. Lots of issues going down. Joe Hendry and Myers. We'll get Homicide and Hernandez versus Colby Carino and a mystery partner next week if he can find one. So yeah, uh, things coming together for Victory Road, and I will see you next week. Or well, not next week, just next next episode. All right, I'm done. Bye.